Welcome everyone to today's webinar. I am Brian Zimmerman with Becker's Hospital Review. We will begin today's webinar with a presentation and we'll have time at the end of the hour for a question and answer session. You can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar by typing them into your control panel in the space labeled Enter a Question for Staff and clicking Send. We are looking forward to hearing your questions. Additionally, in about a week following the webinar, we will be sending you a copy of the presentation to the email you used to register. At this time, it is now my pleasure to start today's webinar by introducing our presenters. Christian Boucher, Director, Healthcare Solutions at Citrix. Dan Cowan, Global Healthcare Director at Nutanix. Robert Edwards, Director of Technical Infrastructure at Cardinal Innovations Healthcare. Dan, I'll now turn the floor over to you.
Great, thanks a lot, Brian. Again, this is Dan Cowan from Nutanix, a member of our healthcare team here. If we could go to the next slide, please. I want to talk a little bit about our company, what we do, and what we're doing in healthcare to just set the stage and provide some context as we move into Christian and Bobby's discussion. So we've probably got quite a few existing Nutanix customers on here, so please bear with me as I go through some basic information. Next slide. Next slide. And then the next slide. All right, so at Nutanix, our tagline is the enterprise cloud company. And what that really means is that we bring a public cloud-like experience into your own data center. So your staff has control over the infrastructure, but you've got the agility that you would have with a public cloud type of a model. We're a relatively young company, founded in 2009, but have experienced some very, very rapid growth. Went public last fall, up over 5,000 customers, and truly a worldwide presence, over 2,500 employees, mostly based in San Jose and in RTP, North Carolina, but we've got support organizations around the world that allow us to provide 24/7 follow-the-sun type support. Let's go to the next slide. So in healthcare, we've got over 700 customers running their most important applications on our platform. We've got a very big focus on the provider market, so hospitals and health systems, but we've also got a large number of customers in pharma, in other life sciences branches, and then also in the payer or insurance market. So great diversity within our healthcare customer base, and it continues to grow at a very, very rapid pace. Let's go to the next slide. So let's talk just about what Nutanix does so that you understand what the solution is. And if you could click one more time, that would build this slide out. So what we do is we collapse the traditional infrastructure stack of virtualization in servers and storage fabric and storage, collapse that down into an appliance-based model. So no longer do you need a SAN. We use local storage within commodity x86 servers and software to provide a high-performing, very scalable infrastructure that supports all of the virtualized applications that you run today. So things that you used to depend on your SAN for, things like replication, erasure coding, presentation of volumes up to the virtual machine, all of that is done within our software that can run on a variety of x86 server models. Really, really simplifies the infrastructure within the data center. Let's go to the next slide. There we go. All right, so real quickly, I want to talk about our partnership approach. So the team that I manage is responsible for working with healthcare application providers. So EMR, EHR, and also PACS and VNA ISVs. So those include companies like Epic and Cerner, Fuji, and InterSystems. So that's where we spend the majority of our time, ensuring that their applications run well on our platform and we know how to size those correctly for customer deployments. We also get to take advantage of some existing partnerships that Big Nutanix manages. So our friends at Citrix with their fantastic application publishing and VDI solutions, NVIDIA for high-resolution graphics within VDI, other companies like Commvault for integrated backups with Nutanix. So we get to take advantage of those partnerships that have special relevance to healthcare. And then we're active in the Healthcare Executive Committee or community with organizations like HIMSS and CHIME, RSNA, also conferences like IPMI. So very, very active across healthcare, primarily in the provider market, but we're also seeing quite a bit of activity in other sub-markets, like I mentioned a minute ago. All right, next slide. So last slide is, I just want to make the connection between what we do at Nutanix and how it impacts healthcare and the delivery of care. So I talked about simplifying the infrastructure stack, and there's also quite a bit of automation and self-healing built into our platform. So there's fewer moving parts, fewer physical parts, and also automation, which means that the team, the humans in the data center and on the ops team, need to have less interaction with it. And as we know, there's quite a few downtimes, outages, degradation in performance caused by people interacting with systems. So because we don't require as much human interaction, the availability of the infrastructure goes up, which means that the applications that people care about are available for more hours during the year, and clinicians have access to the information that they need and can perform the tasks that they need to do, which drives better outcomes, increased patient satisfaction, increased clinician satisfaction. So we think there's a pretty direct connection between the simplicity that we bring to the data center, the high availability, the scalability, and what's actually important to healthcare organizations. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Christian at Citrix, and he's going to talk a little bit about what they're doing in healthcare.
Thanks, Dan. So could we advance 2 slides, please? So my name is Christian Boucher, Director of Healthcare Solutions and Technical Evangelist for Citrix Systems. It's been quite a few years on the provider side, managing and architecting large enterprise systems for a health system up in Massachusetts. Came over to Citrix about 2 years ago, trying to talk a little bit about how we at Citrix can deliver better solutions for your customers, i.e. your physicians and clinicians, to better care for your patients. And that's kind of what our goal is at Citrix. And we really try to transform how we are working with customers and partners like Nutanix and Intel. Our role here is really to focus on delivering you nimble solutions that allow you to customize that experience for your end users and tailor how they consume those resources in your environment to allow you flexibility to deploy multiple solutions to multiple environments, depending on the needs of your customer base. Next slide, please. So the way we see it at Citrix is there is this gap between performance and expectations, especially with organizations moving to EMRs, changing workflows from paper to digital, and understanding that when you look at a specific workflow, when you're transitioning that, your organization may have multiple needs for the same departments depending upon where they are in or who they are treating within your organization. Some people are mobile, some people are not. Some, floors need additional resources to, execute the care for patients. So what we see is, we have this ability to allow organizations to tailor the needs of their users and deliver them the apps and data that they require to access in real time in any way they need to get their job done most efficiently. So we want to enable you as an organization to deliver the best possible care to your patients any way that you need to, depending upon the requirements of your users. Next slide, please. And this one's going to be built out a couple times. So if you just click, I think, 5 times. So when you look at our suite of products in our portfolio, what we've really focused back on to is our core, mission statement is the secure delivery of apps and data. And when we look at solutions like enterprise mobility management, that's getting into mobility and tablets and iPhones, We have our application delivery controllers, which allow you to deploy applications and/or virtual desktops to any device that you need to, internal or external to your network. We've done a lot of work on our networking side of the house to really deliver not only a secure connection, but also we are working on technologies and have developed industry-leading technologies that allow you to leverage minimal link loss capabilities within our solution suite. So regardless of where your consumers are pulling the data from, which networks they're on, whether they're high-resolution graphic type PAC solutions or accessing EMR solutions, we deliver a fast and secure delivery method to any device on any network. We have really focused in the last few years, and with our acquisition of ShareFile, is to kind of build in our enterprise file sync and sharing utilization, which a lot of organizations have started talking about being able to share data not only internally but externally. So it's very important to have HIPAA compliant solutions when you're sharing data and delivering data not only to your own organization but to partner organizations. And in some cases, we're seeing in delivering secure documents to your patients and being able to audit and track those transactions in real time. We have put a lot of work in on this side because we understand that in order to really incorporate ourselves into the workflows of healthcare organizations, it's important for us to look at those operational needs and how organizations are sharing data and trying to assist them in managing that continuum of care across organizations, whether they're wholly owned or, again, subsidiaries or partner healthcare organizations, to deliver secure content and give everyone the access to the data and apps they need in real time. We've also really focused on a cloud first or a hybrid environment. So when you look at our code sets across the spectrum of our solutions, we in the last major release have really focused on a single code set across all of our platforms. So whether you're running us in the cloud, whether you're running us on-prem, our code sets are the same across all the environments. So it enables you to be nimble and utilize the resources that you need to make your organization run optimally, whether it's for fiscal reasons or disaster recovery reasons. We want to ensure that your users and you as an IT organization are experiencing the same exact performance and use cases across all of those environments. So we really focused on enabling organizations to deliver what they need from wherever they need across the entire spectrum of our solution portfolio. Next slide, please. Can you build that up, please? When you talk about healthcare, this is going to take a couple clicks as well. When you talk about healthcare, we have a large presence. It's actually our #1 vertical within Citrix. So, when we talk about who we work with, it's, again, top 10 in U.S. News, honor roll. 88% of Epic Hyperspace installs run on Citrix, including a lot of the hosted solutions that organizations are leveraging now. Cerner is another big partner of ours. Concurrent users, over 350,000. I think we have over 450,000 licenses installed on-prem at Cerner. So we have a large integration with these EMR and PACS vendors across multiple, ancillary applications as well. So as we go through and look at, how we integrate with them, like Nutanix, Dan and I have actually spent time on some of these EMR vendors' premise, talking about how we can better integrate our technologies, how we can change some of the things that we're doing to better support those organizations and make sure when we deliver a solution to our customers that is leveraging, cross-functionality into the ISV world, that it is the best experience possible. And I think we've probably spent too many hours going over technical solutions on how to deliver the best experience across all these platforms. we're a worldwide company, so we stretch out. We've done a lot of work with the European regions and working on GDPR and understanding all the requirements across the world, to better suit our customers' needs and to deliver the best experience possible. Next slide, please. I think this one needs to be built out as well. So how do you reimagine work? I think that's really the key for us when we talk to our customers is understanding that, healthcare is a very complex vertical, and there are so many different aspects of care that we have to take into consideration when we're delivering resources to our users, again, physicians and clinicians. So the way we see it is really defining, the ability to customize that experience in real time. So if you have 50 different use cases across your organization and you are struggling to manage and deliver those to increase care for your patients, our role here is to really give you the ability to do that, whether it's, again, mobile syncing, delivering apps, delivering data, securing your network. Our play within this field, within these fields is significant in allowing organizations to truly customize the user experience for their customers. We found across hundreds of conversations with our customers that is one of the key drivers for the adoption of Citrix in healthcare. Is we allow organizations to truly deliver the solutions they need to in real time, regardless of locations and regardless of security concerns in their environments. That is key for us for really focusing on, again, these core capabilities in our core portfolio offerings is to give organizations the ability to adapt to the changing culture within healthcare and allowing them to customize those experiences, and all the while doing it securely across the entire portfolio. Next slide, please. So when you look at our portfolio stack, it is, again, when you look at, the Gartners and, the Forrester researches, our services are, up in the top, right quadrant where you want to be. But the thing that separates our solutions from others, I believe, in this environment is the integration between all of them. We have really focused on, in the last year and a half or two, the ability to customize the experience and have tighter integration across our entire portfolio of products. VDI, and app virtualization, software-defined networking through our NetScalers and software, SD-WAN, enterprise mobility with Zen Mobile, file sharing with ShareFile. And if you get into our hybrid cloud technologies, again, our partners, in Nutanix and Microsoft and the Amazons of the world, we have really forged great relationships with all of them to really build a complete portfolio. Our most, recent, introduction to the portfolio is our IoT integration with our OctaBlue solution. This solution allows us to also integrate with, the Internet of Things that is starting to create some waves in healthcare. All these smart devices, connected heart monitors or smart beds, integration of monitoring cameras. We have really focused on doing a lot of integration with that with our labs team, and I think in the next few years we'll see a lot more development in that area, and hopefully we'll be a leader in that segment as well. Next slide, please. So again, we're getting back to the tighter integration of our product portfolio. When you look at Zen App, Zen Desktop, NetScaler, Zen Mobile, go right down the portfolio. We are really trying to unify that experience for our end users, being able to deploy whatever solution you need to and have the same experience across any device or any interaction level, including external entities. So when we start looking at how these digital workspaces are taking place, is to be able to offer someone the same experience regardless of their location. You know, work is a thing. It's not a place anymore. So we need to be able to adapt and allow organizations to leverage whatever technologies are available to them now, which is, you know, it's growing every day, and give that organization comfort and security in delivering those solutions to their employees and in some aspects to their customers across the entire digital workspace. So focusing on what work is and not where it is key for us, and we wanted to make sure as part of as some of our drivers for developing these technologies is to make that so. So when you need to work wherever you are, regardless of the location, regardless of the device, you have access to the environments that you need to in real time, securely, and the experience is the same across the entire environments. And in healthcare, digital workspaces are really changing. We have the base stuff, EMRs, medical imaging, sharing of PHI and other medical records, productivity apps, but it's also growing to include, web-based applications, internally developed applications, SaaS solutions. We are, I would say the leader in being able to integrate all those workflows and all those different solutions into one easy pane of glass for your customers or your consumers of your services within IT to utilize those solutions anywhere, anytime. So we understand that, a lot of organizations are really looking to integrate some of these web-based solutions or whatever it may be into their workflows. So enabling them to access those solutions in the same pane of glass, again, creating your own app store per se, is really key for that experience and for keeping your physicians and nurses focused on the care of their patients, not where do I have to go to access this application or this desktop? Is this a web-based application? Our focus is that digital workspace where everything is at a click of the mouse away, or a quick look into their application portfolio and access it as needed. Next slide, please. So as I go through, I just want to talk again. This is kind of, I know I'm running a little bit short on time. So, our focus again is delivering any app or any data to any device across, any number of devices that your organization may want to incorporate into your IT infrastructure. We focus on the application delivery, regardless of where or what they're using. Our goal is to have the same user experience across the entire portfolio of products. Next slide, please. So this is talking back to the same topics: Citrix Workspace Suite, Citrix Workspace Services, whether you're on-prem or leveraging hybrid or all cloud. Our environment is scalable. It's built to run on any service or solution that you choose, and our product portfolio will migrate across or have some on-prem or some in cloud, and it's really seamless to the end user. Next slide, please. So our goal is again helping you to say yes to your customers or the future of work. So if your physician leadership comes to you and asks you to implement a new workflow for this certain division, we are focused on allowing you to be able to do that, regardless of what solution it is or which device they choose, which network they want to run on. Our organization is really focused on delivering these 5 key aspects: IT agility, improving patient satisfaction by allowing your physicians and clinicians to focus on them, not the technology. We really focus on transparency, so we want the technology to be invisible to the end user, which in turn improves clinician productivity. All the while, we're trying to, save you money, be more efficient, cut down the cost, especially with partners like Nutanix leveraging a lot of those plug-and-play capabilities and, grow to scale solutions that Nutanix offers, and all the while still being, focused, on security and compliance for your organizations. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the webinar control panel. I am passing back off to Dan now. Thank you.
Thanks, Christian. Appreciate it. Let's go to the next slide. And Robert is going to join us. Robert, first of all, thanks for making the time. Really appreciate you participating in the webinar and sharing the story about your work with Citrix and Nutanix. So let's start with, if you could, tell us a little bit about Cardinal Innovations and about your role there.
Yeah, so again, my name is Robert Edwards. I'm the Director of Infrastructure and Operations at Cardinal Innovations Healthcare. My team is responsible for delivery of end-user computing, cybersecurity, network and telephony services, as well as sort of the overall business customer experience with IT. Cardinal Innovations is the country's largest specialty health plan. We insure close to 900,000 North Carolinians with complex needs. That is roughly 1 in 4 North Carolina Medicaid enrollees. We also coordinate care for individuals who don't have adequate insurance throughout our 20-county territory. It's in the middle of North Carolina. Cardinal pioneered North Carolina's unique managed care model, which focuses on whole person care and community-based service and support. That's sort of our story in my role.
Excellent. Thanks.
Go to the next slide.
Let's go to the next slide.
So, Bobby, when you were, looking for a VDI solution, what challenges and what business needs were you looking to solve?
Yeah, so we've always been a Citrix customer for the time that I've been here for the past 6 years, but we really started looking at Zen Desktop as a VDI solution as we started to grow faster. We've had about 35% growth year over year for the last 5 years. And so we needed to deliver end-user compute solutions at scale quickly. And we were using the ZenApp product, which is great, but we needed to deliver some end-user compute solutions that required specialty peripherals, that required, we avoid that noisy neighbor problem that can sometimes appear when you're sharing desktop sessions on a server. And so Citrix has always been a leader in that space, and when we went out and did our homework, that's the solution we landed on, and used kind of our past experience with Citrix to get there.
Sounds good, thanks. If we could go to the next slide, Nutanix AHV is mentioned on the previous slide and then the next slide, just so everyone knows what that is. That is the Nutanix hypervisor, the virtualization layer that ships with every Nutanix node. Quite a few customers are starting to adopt that and use that instead of VMware or Microsoft hypervisor, and it looks like, Robert, that you're using that as well. So if we could go to the next slide, if you could tell us a little bit about your evaluation of the solutions and why you chose the combination of Nutanix and Citrix to address your needs.
Yeah, so Citrix and the VDI space it covered a lot of things for us, but mainly we focused on cost, speed, and security. And Nutanix helped us hit all those areas as well. From a speed, speed to value with Nutanix versus the 3-tier architecture, which is, I think, kind of a misnomenclature when you start looking at all the different products that we replaced with Nutanix in that space. But now, as the director, I can actually deploy Nutanix nodes in less than 30 minutes. And not to call out any other vendors, but in that 3-tier stack, when we were adding more nodes or more storage processors, that tended to be a 2 to 3 month expenditure. And so Nutanix really helped us collapse that. So not only do we save space in the data center from a footprint standpoint and sort of realize some hard cost savings, but also the time to value in deployment. Citrix on top of that, great performance. We tied it in with AHV. We deployed with MCS inside of Citrix. We've got nothing but great benefits from that coupling. The security aspect with Citrix, which was great, is that now I deploy these end user computing solutions to a lot of mobile staff, right? So I've got 360 plus care coordinators, which makes up almost half of my business out across the state. And they're carrying around endpoints. In our case, we use pre-configured Chromebooks that do not have our member data stored locally. So it actually provides a layer of security for our members as their data is not out in the field. So we like to joke internally that you'll never see a headline that says Cardinal Innovations lost a Chromebook and 500 members have their EPHI exposed, because that data no longer exists locally. So from a speed and security standpoint, they've been great, and the Nutanix was great at getting us down in the cost area, which really sort of drove the VDI adoption throughout the business at an executive level, because we could spend just as much money all in with the backend infrastructure, licensing, and support with Nutanix that we could with deploying with Nutanix and Citrix that we could with deploying laptop solutions. And so once you sort of even out those cost planes at the initial jumping off point, going forward, savings just go up exponentially. So now as I have a mobile user who's come in and dropped a $250 Chromebook, that's an easy replacement and easy to budget for replacement in a capitative market that we work in. So again, we hit cost, speed, and security, and that was kind of our big driver.
Excellent. And just a quick question. So I understand that, your organization has gone through some mergers and acquisitions. And from what you're saying, it seems like this solution design from Citrix and Nutanix kind of allows you to be a little more aggressive in those areas and allow you to deploy a little bit quicker. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. So our latest one was in July of this year, or last year, excuse me. We were able to deploy 175 users in one day onto our end user computing platform and get them in and get them working in our application set in less than a day. And that did have to do with the fact that we had pre-configured Chromebooks and they popped in a Citrix kiosk receiver mode. And so users were able to just open them up, log in with their newly provided credentials, and get straight to work. Nutanix was also a big play in that, and allowing us to understand, from a scalability standpoint, exactly how many nodes we needed to purchase. So from a budgetary standpoint, from a deployment standpoint, the coupling of the two products made that merger go off without a hitch.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next slide.
Next slide, please. So Robert, you talked already about some of the cost savings, and that's a component of this slide, and the speed to deploy new solutions, 30 minutes or less to drop in and turn on Nutanix nodes rather than traditional 3-tier. Were there any other financial benefits or IT operations benefits? Does it change the way that your team spends time on a day-to-day basis?
Absolutely. So I tell people this story a lot, especially around Nutanix. I no longer have a dedicated infrastructure team. I use a combination of a senior messaging administrator and a Citrix architect to run my infrastructure, because Nutanix has made it that easy for us. All three of us, and myself included, attended a NPP training class earlier this year. And we can use this team of 3 individuals to run the infrastructure. But the great thing that Nutanix has done is it's kind of made that invisible, right? Because we don't do technology for the sake of technology. We do it for enabling our business. So I've had those resources focus in other areas. Specifically, some business projects that we wouldn't have been able to get to because we didn't have the staff. We're now driving business value because we're no longer managing infrastructure on the back end. I'd also say from a Citrix standpoint, we've been able to drop our costs in support. Again, my department is responsible for the overall business customer experience with IT. And so basically I'm speaking to help desk and service desk operations. Utilizing Citrix, we've been able to drop that support per user by almost $400 a year. And that comes from a combination of different things, having that base image in the VDI environment to manage, getting rid of all the individual endpoints, and so that endpoint management process, getting everyone to a standard platform has driven the cost down by over a quarter.
That's excellent. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide.
So, Bobby, as we go through and you look at the end solution, what were the drivers and what were the use cases that you were working towards resolving? I mean, what were the issues that your end users were experiencing, or what your organization were experiencing to look into this type of solution?
Right. So from both sides of the house, both on the back-end infrastructure and the end-user computing architecture, we were a hindrance in some ways in IT. We couldn't deliver to the business fast enough with some projects. And so from an infrastructure standpoint, Nutanix, we talked about how that kind of solved that issue, right? It's now linear, it's easy to understand, it's easy to budget for, it's easy to implement, it's easy to administer. So we're no longer impeding projects, at least on the infrastructure side of the house. On the end user computing side, it's the same sort of scenario, right? So the merger that we went through in July, it was no longer weeks of deployment and user education. It took less than a day to onboard 175 users, and so that made a real business value impact that was kind of seen across our organization. And so from an infrastructure and ops side, those are sort of the drivers that we had to adopt these technologies.
Excellent. Now with this solution in place, are there other initiatives that you guys are looking at to possibly take over or move into other areas of the organization to see if you can improve the experience in there as well?
Yes, absolutely. So we started with Nutanix in the VDI space, running Citrix, and we do have two clusters. We do have a ESXi cluster and a Acropolis cluster, the hypervisors. The ESXi we originally deployed because we were focused on our sort of end user experience, and we needed the NVIDIA grid, and at the time that feature just wasn't available in Acropolis. We've since expanded Nutanix to run our entire data center and our entire secondary data center sites. So now we run dynamic workloads on Nutanix. So we have SQL and SAS and Splunk and Exchange, and all of our internal developed applications now run on Nutanix. And Citrix has become a value-added partner for us. We're now utilizing their entire catalog. We deploying ShareFile. We're using Zen Mobile and the suite of mobile applications, and Zen Desktop as a combination of sort of the application publishing properties and the VDI environment to make sure that our users can kind of get access to any application anywhere on any device. So we have a little different spin on the any from Citrix, but it's really just to allow our users to use any device that they need to from anywhere.
Excellent.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, let's go to the next slide and check in with Brian to see if there's any questions from the audience that we can address.
Thank you all for that fantastic presentation. We will now begin today's audience question and answer session. Please submit any questions you have by typing them into your control panel in the space labeled "Enter a question for staff." and clicking send. We will try to get through as many questions as we have time for. Take a look here. We've got a question here. This audience member would like to know, how are you managing your Chromebooks, updates / security fixes, etc.?
Yes, so we treat our Chromebooks as basically kiosk entry points. So we use the Google device management application in the cloud to have them pre-configured at the factory. So when they ship out, the Chromebook opens in kiosk mode, and so then they access it through the internet-facing storefront on the NetScalers here at Cardinal.
Got it. That's helpful to know. We've got another audience member here who'd like to know, what is your network configuration? Do you have 1 gigabyte to the desktop? What do you have from the network closet to the core router? What about wireless?
Absolutely. So we have it kind of varies because we have multiple different offices, but essentially, we have a 1 gig connection from every desktop back to the data center. That does get throttled in some areas through things like a phone, right? That might have a 100 megabit switch. But to speak to, I think, what you're asking with the Citrix deployment and the adoption that we've had, one of the things that we've noticed is that an end user can have an acceptable work experience at roughly 500K. So we have a lot of remote users, like I mentioned, and we're continuing to look at that as an alternate work arrangement for your traditional office-based workers as well. And Citrix is really helping enabling that by having to lower the bandwidth utilization necessary in a typical desktop experience.
Great. Thank you for that informative answer. We've got another audience member here who's asking, through the move of your data center to Nutanix, have you had a reduction in FTEs in your infrastructure team? This question is for Robert.
I have not had a reduction in staff, and the reason for that is I didn't grow staff. Again, we went through quite a rapid expansion across the mid part of North Carolina as we went through M&As with other organizations. And one of the key benefits from the hyperconverged platform is I did not have to grow infrastructure staff. I was actually able to utilize different skill set to manage this new infrastructure as it's just become easier, right? And I think that's the new goal with hyperconverged is you don't talk about infrastructure and management of it because that's not really a business value driver. Yes, it's underneath everything, and it's certainly important, and I'm not saying it's not. It's just not driving the business value as infrastructure itself. And so Nutanix has done a great job in helping us move it towards that area.
Thanks for that answer. And we've got another question here. How would the Citrix Nutanix implementation impact future growth initiatives?
So I would, for Cardinal, I would speak to our experience with our previous merger in the sense that we were able to onboard 175 individuals in one day. So it essentially allows us to be scalable instantaneously almost at a pace that doesn't inhibit the business, I would say. So it's put us in a position where we can pivot, which I think is super important in the healthcare space that we're in.
Absolutely. And our next question here, what are some of the security concerns you face? How are you mitigating any potential impacts to your security?
So security from a Citrix VDI standpoint, I'll assume that the question is directed towards that. We have several layers of compensating controls at Cardinal because we do take cybersecurity very serious, just because of the nature of the data that we deal with. What I would tell you is Citrix has enabled us to deliver a more secure platform as we have less of a landscape to manage from a vulnerability standpoint with the gold imaging and the MCS with Citrix. And then from a remote use standpoint, we're less concerned about endpoint management. We do send the Chromebooks out of the warehouse configured to open in kiosk mode, but because we only allow the ICA connection back across hardened NetScalers and hardened firewalls, we've reduced our vulnerability footprint on that end.
Great. And it looks like we have time for just one more question here. Is there a large portion of your workforce that is out in the field? What are their technology needs? And how has Cardinal IT teams addressed them? What sorts of applications and data do they need to access to?
Absolutely. So again, roughly 50% of our workforce is remote, and of those 50%, 360 plus are what we refer to as care coordinators, and those are individuals who are out helping our members and our communities. From a technology needs standpoint, most of what they need access to is internet based, and so we didn't have quite the pushback that you might have in a network compute environment. And one of the things that kind of helped us with that is our intentional purchasing of Chromebooks with built-in LTE connection. So, from an end user experience standpoint, I'm shipped a Chromebook, I open it, I log in with my network credentials, that desktop opens for me, and that is it. Versus the traditional, I have a laptop, I have a MiFi, I have to connect up via VPN, and then the security concerns that happen with that. Our users now are enabled to just take a device out to the field, open it up, log in, and be ready to go. Citrix has done a great job of helping us with some peripherals that are needed. So, controlling USB devices is a big one. We don't want any of our protected health information to be transferred to any sort of mobile media. So having lockdown policies inside of Citrix to help with that, but then having them be customizable to individual sets of users so that our community engagement specialists can give presentations and download that non-sensitive information to that removable media to be used in the communities is great. But that sort of covers all of the individual usage. And we might have some mobile scanners, I believe, that are out there as well for specialty teams that are out and have to do a lot of scanning. But all of it has been enabled with the Citrix VDI deployment that we have.
Great.
Hey, Bobby,
Thank
I have
you.
one more question. This is Christian, just to build upon that. With the success you've had in deploying Chromebooks, have you thought about utilizing like Chrome boxes or Chromebooks internally for your non-mobile customers as well?
So internally, we use 10-zig thin clients deployed, and we do that intentionally as some of the internal operations staff needs a Windows embedded software for better certain features work better in a Windows receiver environment. As Citrix matures the Chrome OS receiver, I think that the Windows one has been built to really take advantage of sort of the newer features in the HDX platform.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you both. And I believe that is all the time we have for today. I want to thank all of our presenters and our audience for participating today. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will look forward to having you join us for future webinars.